We're here today to give context and information surrounding 2 incidents of violence against our officers. The circumstances surrounding these incidents are outside our parameters for a typical critical incident briefing video. However, we wanted to share some video and provide some details to go along with it. The frequency and seriousness of these attacks concerns our department as a whole. Attacks on the guardians of our community have become far too frequent, and our chief is concerned, we are concerned, the community should be concerned. We're lucky that, honestly, frankly, we're lucky that we are not planning 2 funerals here within 8 days apart. At this time, I'm going to introduce Lieutenant James Hester. We're going to show you, and you're going to see, these videos are very brief because that is how fast this happened. And it's not a long video. Both of them within seconds or minute. The first video that you're going to see was March 29th, 2024 at 11:29 p.m. when Officer Harold Boswell was working off duty in a full police uniform at 3300 West Southern Avenue. The second video that you're going to reference is going to be April 7th, 2024 at 1:04 a.m. at 1700 West Bell Road, where our officer was stabbed in the neck. This officer is still recovering in a hospital. It's going to be a long recovery. We don't have an estimated time. He's healing well, but we wish him the best, but he is still hospitalized. These are very serious incidents. Lieutenant Hester.
Hi, thank you for coming. Again, my name is James Hester. I'm the Homicide Lieutenant for the Violent Crimes Bureau. The first video that we're going to see is reference 35th Avenue in Southern. It's going to be the shooting of Officer Boswell. I'm going to direct your attention to the top of the screen. That's where the majority of the attack is going to occur. I'll play it all the way through uninterrupted so that you can see what it looks like. It's going to be very challenging. Then I'll go back and add additional context that will help dissect what you're seeing on the screen. So up at the top is where you want to focus. I'll put my mouse in that area, right around here. So this area is where the armed robbery is occurring currently. This is one of our victims who's going to alert Officer Boswell to the armed robbery in progress. You're going to see a marker where the officer see his light come on. And then we zoom out to see the suspects fleeing from the scene. So again, I know that's difficult, so I'm going to pause it and go back just to hopefully help figure it out. So we have a white Dodge Charger that's going to be our victim vehicle where the armed robbery was taking place. The officer is off the camera angle to the top of our screen here, and the robbery is occurring here with the 3 suspects and the 2 female victims. So as the robbery continues, one of the suspects grabs onto one of our victims, and for an unknown reason, one of our suspects falls. He tripped over a block, and the 3rd suspect helps him up. That gives our 2nd victim an opportunity to flee. She starts running towards the business, which alerts Officer Boswell to the armed robbery. Officer Boswell is now going to come with, that's his flashlight, he's going to come on scene, and he immediately starts receiving fire. The victims are still in the frame. Officer Boswell didn't have an opportunity to respond to the threat, and he was immobilized due to the gunshots. A 2nd suspect here so the 1st suspect shooting in this area. This is our 2nd suspect shooting. And then they flee. So I'll play it again now that you understand the context, and then if there's any questions about this video, I'll answer them for you. Fortunately, Officer Boswell is now home, as Sergeant Reeson said, and he's recovering, so We're very grateful for that. And the 2 victims were unharmed during this incident.
A Google Drive will be sent out to everybody here at the conclusion of this press conference.
Go ahead, sir. I'm sorry.
I was going to say, so Officer Boswell is running over to assist on the scene and is immediately bent by gunfire.
Correct.
Was he hit with both? I mean, you said there were 2 folks that were shooting towards him. Was it just one gun that fired that hit him, one person, or did he get fired?
Yeah, he was definitely fired upon by both
Yeah.
of the suspects.
Was he shot multiple times?
Yes. Okay. Then if there's no other questions, I'll go ahead and move on to the second video. So this is the one that's, again, this one's a little clearer because it occurred within the Quick Trip. And there'll be multiple angles I'll stitch together here so you can see it. And then I'll go back and just highlight a few points on this video.
Hey partner, they want you to head out, okay? Absolutely. Do you have an ID on you? You don't? Alright, well, hold on here. Hey, what are you asking? I think if I stop. Stop.
So I wanted to call attention to 2 unsung heroes that are inside this video. Our video isn't reflective of what actually occurred after the attack. We're cutting the video at the attack. But there was a several-minute engagement with the suspect by 2 of our citizen heroes out there. So I wanted to call, we asked for their permission to put their names on the news. But the security guard was a Mr. Jamil Kellerwood, and the clerk was a Mr. Luis Ozuna. They did an outstanding job. We're very grateful for everything they did. They saved our officer's life that evening, and their commitment to stopping this guy can't be overstated. So I wanted to just go back a little bit here. You can see the thrashing blow, but I wanted to pause so you can see the knife on the ground after the stabbing, which is in this area. If I think the shade for the thing isn't going to allow it. There it is. Forgive me. Are there any questions regarding this one?
Was that suspect already trespassed, or was he being informed that he was now trespassed?
They were asking him to leave, so which is why that prompted the call to Crime Stop.
What type of knife was it? Was it a kitchen knife?
No, it was a hunting knife would be the best way to describe it.
6-inch hunting knife, or I don't know how big it
It was pretty large. I don't have the exact measurements. I'm sorry.
Can you describe the actions of the 2 employees? What did they do to?
Yeah. So this case, like the other one, is going to be prosecuted, and there was criminal acts against the security guard also that evening. So I'm not going to go into that right now. I want to ensure that the prosecution goes through. So I know I'm leaving you on a cliffhanger, but it was heroic. I'll say that much.
Can you spell their names first?
I sure can. So Mr. Jamil, Jameel, Kellerwood, Kelewwood. That's our security guard. And the clerk was Mr. Luis, Luis, Ozuna, Ozuna.
Could there be any sort of recognition of them?
Absolutely. Yeah, that's in progress.
Lieutenant, can you step up to the mic so we can get a little better audio?
Yes. Am I going to get feedback? Do I need to flip this off? Okay.
I mean, again, looking at these 2 incidents, I mean, just, the reason you're showing them is just how brazen, what we're seeing from the
Yes.
And what's the message to the public? You want, the public to be aware that these things are happening and the lives of officers are in danger? What's the message you want with getting this out there?
So the message is that the violence in our community is real. We know that the officers and the people that work in our community are the community that we serve. We all experience it. We have countless victims, including our officers, that are going out every day trying to live their lives, that are experiencing violence. Very often we see officers either do great things or things that could be better. We would like to bring the attention of, like, when an officer is a human being and they get attacked, they too can be harmed. I don't want to minimize the public when they experience violence, because that's not the purpose of this. But for us, to see the humanity of the law enforcement officers when they experience extreme levels of violence, we think it can help humanize the badge.
And you think, I guess both of these, would you say, how would you describe this? Both incidents kind of show how fast something can escalate and how quickly someone can turn on an officer. I mean, it's not like it was a long, drawn-out thing. I mean, one case you've got an officer just responding to help someone, and here's a case you just, trying to ask somebody for some ID, and all of a sudden it turns violent. I mean, this is an example of just how quickly this kind of thing can happen.
Yeah, that's an excellent observation. That's the reality of the world. Ideally, we would love our community to all act in brotherhood and not react as fast as it is. But these things turn very quickly, as you stated, where it's a routine call for service with a quick trip, where it's a gentleman that's being asked to leave by the staff, and it results in a critical incident. It's seconds from going into the store, but yes, these things can turn violent very quickly.
What are the conversations like ahead of routine, check-ins and things like that? I mean, are you telling officers, hey, you never know, this can happen? What does that look like ahead of time, trying to prepare for these types of situations?
So I'm speaking out of turn, because I'm not one of the persons responsible for the majority of our officer training, but our officers do, at the beginning of their career and throughout their career, very often we do training scenarios in order to help them understand the dynamics of certain situations. These two cases will be analyzed by our tactical training details in order to determine if there's any lessons that can be learned to help keep officers safe going forward. We don't just sit on our laurels when something bad happens to the officers. We're always looking for ways to improve our training and the way that we deploy our officers to keep themselves safe so that they can complete their mission to protect the public.
We always hear about no such thing as a routine traffic stop. I mean, these are different types of scenarios, but very similar, right? I mean, as far as you would think, it's just routine, right? I mean, he's just asking somebody to leave the store, right?
Yeah, absolutely. As you stated, there's no such thing as routine. Personally, if I'm gonna, it's difficult when, as an officer with a lot of years on, myself is who I'm including. It's not anybody fault the situation where you're trying to keep at that alert status to make sure that you get home safe at the end of the night. But oftentimes these calls become routine, and you can subject yourself to danger. I'm not stating that as it relates to these two officers, but I can empathize and I can see how something like that can happen. Absolutely.
When would you say a rise in violent crime for police really started to go up? In 3 years, 5 years, this year?
Yeah, without prepping for a question like that, I don't really want to state something that is more opinion than actual drivers of violence. So I'm sorry, I'm not going to be able to answer that.
Let's kind of talk about how these incidents are sometimes spurty. They happen one week, 24 hours later, and how you guys are able to, brief officers going out that so-and-so had this incident, watch it back when we go out.
Yeah, so we do have internal messaging immediately after a lot of these incidents occur, and especially in the investigations detail, we get a lot of questions and asks from different partners throughout the organization to see what can be learned, whether this is something that can be utilized to help keep the next officer on shift safe. That's part and parcel with how we operate as a law enforcement agency.
Okay, thank you, guys. Just to wrap it up, a lot of times we are here because we've had a critical incident, right? We've produced these videos for transparency, and we see that officers are making several second decisions, and we're returning force. In these two incidents, we did not even have the ability to protect ourselves or return the force because our officers were taken out immediately. That's just what we were highlighting here. The violence came quick. Neither of them were able to return Officer Boswell, keeping in mind his background, he was unable to defend himself to the gunfire. This officer went down immediately and also could not get back into the fight. But trust me, he's fighting. This whole time, this video is short what it is, but he's still fighting today. We are taught in the academy the survival mindset. We're taught, don't give up, even if you feel like you're critically hurt. And both of these officers did not give up. They didn't just lay down and let this take over. They fought. They're still fighting. They're fighting to recover. They fought for their lives. And this is just a highlight of how quick this happens. With that, thank you guys for coming. We will send out a drive with both of these videos. We appreciate it. We have gotten an incredible support from the community. Like you said, why are we having this press conference? My previous position to this was a community action sergeant, and I'm very in touch with a lot of the community out there. Immediately, I'm getting text messages, phone calls, our Facebook posts with everybody wishing us the best, wanting to know what they can do, what happened. So this is us kind of letting them know, look, this is what happened. We're trying to take care of each other. We're trying to heal from this and just bring attention to the violence in the community, and that you don't have to be a police officer to step in. These QT employees, 100% in my opinion, and this is my opinion, they saved this officer's life. If they would have not gone into this fight, this would have ended tragically, and it almost did. So thank you guys.